I'm Chanel White, and welcome to today's special program. We are here at the Miami Book Fair International, where today we're going to get a chance to meet with some of the authors that are taking part in today's events. My first guest today is an inspirational educator, a dynamic visionary leader. She's also the CEO of Simple Results Incorporated, and she travels all around the world helping empower and change the lives of others. We are here with Miss Anne Louise Carricart.
Oh, nice. Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. So happy.
So I understand that you are a Miami native, and
right.
I understand that you also went to school here.
Miami-Dade. Absolutely.
Which campus did you go to?
Kendall.
Kendall
South.
campus.
I don't think a lot of other campuses were around like they are today.
Oh, okay.
It's a little while ago.
Okay, so what did you end up taking up when you were here at Miami-Dade?
Well, actually what I chose to do was take some courses at Miami-Dade, and then I ventured out and opened up my first company, a property management company, and got a lot of support from the education that I got at Miami-Dade, and took my real estate license and different things and just ventured out.
Oh, so when did you start writing? When did you first?
I think I've always written like a lot of people, you know. We start with maybe poems or short stories, and we just go into our journal and we kind of get lost in it. And writing for me was a way for me to just kind of be more of my own best friend and not get caught up in what other people or society was wanting to define me as, because I was doing things that a lot of people weren't doing at the time.
So what inspired you to write your first book?
You know, Power Wishing is about 25 years of work of being an entrepreneur, building companies, a family, having children, you know, and continuing my life as an adventure. And I wanted to give something to the people that I loved, and also the people that wanted to enhance the best of themselves. And this is a structure. It's an emotional base, because I feel that everything comes from emotions, like the why you're here, how you got here was a feeling, you know, and now you structure it into something more defined. But it's really to support people to have their wishes come true as their life. And then again, many people feel that they're always wishing and sometimes just don't work out the way that they thought. And there's a reason why, so I write that in the book.
So, of course, this is the book fair. You have hundreds, thousands of authors here
That's
who
right.
are trying to sell and promote their book. So what is the name of your book?
My book is Power Wishing, and it is dynamic. It is fantastic. It has, you know, stories. It also has different chapters. One is called The Movie, to give a chance to look at your life as a movie, you know, so you can kind of step back sometimes, write your script. Stage Your Day is a very quick meditation to support us to just keep in alignment with what we want in our lives.
So what exactly would you like the readers to grasp from reading your book?
Bottom line is, being your own definition of what you love about yourself is the best way to live your life. And sometimes we undervalue that. We undervalue what we love about ourselves and what we hold dear to our heart. We don't give it the importance. And I write a line that's later is now. You know, now. Be yourself now. And kind of shut the outside world just a little bit to strengthen who you are and what you love about yourself.
Now, writing a book, I'm sure there's a lot of research that you have to do, a lot of staying up late, writing. What did you find the most challenging or the most difficult about writing?
You know, I felt like for writing, and maybe different writers have different, you know, experiences, you feel like you're in a zone. You've got all this information, and you've got all these things coming in your mind, and it's all exciting, and you just want to write and write and write and write. And sometimes you're just in that zone, and then sometimes you wake up and there's like nothing. And you get paranoid that you're never going to get any good ideas again. And actually, that's what helped supported me with the visualization techniques and the technology I talk about in the formulas is, what do you do? And so I found a way to get to the other side of that. And I share that in the book. So, you know, at the end of the day, my passion for wanting to be here at the book fair, for wanting to be an author, is what kept me grounded in continuing to write. I mean, I walked this fair for 15 years saying one day, one day, one day, and then that nervousness came in my stomach, like, what am I going to write about? You know, I can't even really, and then I just said, no, I don't know. But the excitement of thinking I could be there is what got me over the hump of feeling like, can I write? So you just start somewhere. And people talk to me about that. I do lectures at different universities here, and they ask me, so just start. We get so in our head that we don't even start anywhere because we want the perfect plan. The perfect plan is an evolution of yourself. That's perfection. You never finish. You're continuing all the time. So just starting. Some of this book, what's in the middle was the beginning. You just start. And you just trust that it's all going to be in perfect alignment. You stay anchored to your passion. What could be more important than living a dream? Really.
So I know we're getting ready to run out of time. Is there any advice that you have for any upcoming writers?
Stay connected to your passion. Let go of the outside world. Stay connected to your passion and enjoy the moment of you doing what you really love.
So I'm sure the viewers would like to know what's next. What do you have planned for the future?
Lots of more books. I have 5 more books that go with power wishing, because this is, I call it the Bible power wishing. It's the complete system here. But I have little books and lecturing and really enjoying my completion of this.
So there's going to be a series.
There's a series that's
and there's 5
almost
more books.
done. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's about all the time we have for right now. I thank you so much for coming, taking the time out of your busy schedule. I'm sure you've been all over the place
It's been great.
to come and sit down and interview with me and the rest of the viewers here at Miami-Dade College. So I just want to thank you.
And I thank Miami-Dade for the vision of having this here in our hometown. It's really fantastic. You're wonderful. Thank you.
We'll be right back after these short messages.
Cool programs for hot jobs. Let Miami-Dade College jumpstart your career. We offer bachelor's degrees in film and TV production, nursing, electronics engineering, information systems technology, supervision and management, supply chain management, or choose from 300 other programs to study. You can take classes during the day, evening, weekend, or online. For more info, visit MDC.edu or call 305-237-8888. Get the knowledge and training for today's in-demand jobs. Register now. Miami-Dade College.
Welcome back. We are still here at the Miami Book Fair International, and my next guest today says that he doesn't believe in wasting food of any sort, so he decided to write a book to show the world how to save money and not throw away food. Who am I talking about? We are here with the very own Michael Love. How are you today?
Great, fantastic.
I'm glad to have you here.
Great to be here.
With us, taking the time out of your busy schedule. I'm sure you've been all over the place today,
It's been
interviewing,
a great
book
so far.
signings. Things of that nature. Well, where are you from originally?
I'm originally from New York. Grew up in New York, around a food family, always talking about food. At dinner, we're talking about where we're having breakfast, and while we're eating breakfast, we're talking about what we're going to do for lunch. I grew up in New York, and then I moved up to Boston to go to music school, actually, not cooking school.
So how did you end up here in Miami?
My father lived down here. And as he retired, and I would visit him more and more, and I just started loving the Miami culture and loving the food and everything, the beaches, and decided to move down here about 20 years ago.
So you are a chef.
Yes.
I'm assuming that you started cooking early?
Very early on, yes.
When did you start cooking?
Well, the first full meal that I cooked for my family, I was about 12. And my mother's mother had a cook that would cook every weekend, and I would watch her, and she would make deep dish apple pie with crust in the middle. She would make like the brownest gravy and the most delicious roast chicken. So I would watch her cook all the time, and I kind of just started getting a sense and a feel for how to cook myself, and started early. At 12 was really the first full meal that I cooked.
So what meal was that?
It was, I'll never forget, it was chicken Florentine. I used frozen spinach, a breading station with chicken. It took me about 4 hours, but I got it completed. And my mother said it was one of the best chicken Florentines she's ever had.
And you did that at 12?
At 12, yeah.
Wow, I'm 21. All I know how to do is make spaghetti. Wow. So what are some of your favorite dishes?
Well, you know, a lot of people ask me, what's your favorite kind of food to make? And really, I turn ordinary into extraordinary. That's kind of what I try to do. And that's the basis for this book. It's not just a book about leftovers and what to do with leftovers. It's what to do with all the ingredients that you have in your kitchen right now. So my favorite kind of stuff to make is the stuff that we, you know, whether it's a roasted chicken, a fresh pasta, but using ingredients that I already bought.
So what led you to write this book?
Well, I work at Epicure. Epicure is my home. I'm the specialty chef at Epicure. It's been around for 70 years. And one day the butcher came to me and said, we have a lot of excess chicken trim that we are throwing away every single week from the chicken breast, the chicken tender. What can we do with it? And I turned it into a chicken meatloaf that ended up being a bestseller on the hotline. And one of the managers there said, well, let's see what else you can salvage around the market that's still perfectly good. We just can't put it out in our showcase as fresh. And that got me thinking. I had already had a huge collection of recipes. I rethought those recipes and used ingredients that most people already have in their home. And that's kind of how it started. It started through my work at Epicure.
It's a very thick book you have there. How many
Yes.
recipes are in this book?
Well, there's about 120 different recipes.
120.
And it works just like any other cookbook. There's salads and sandwiches, pastas, fish, desserts. But what makes this book so unique is the salvage index. And what makes it different is instead of looking in the index for a recipe, you look for the ingredient that you want to use. And then that references you to several recipes using that ingredient. So if you look up tomatoes and you have 2 tomatoes sitting on the counter that are a little squishy, they're not as perfect as they once were when you made a salad.
But they're
They're
edible.
still edible, but they're a little softer. What can you do with them? You look up tomatoes and there's 15 recipes on what to do with tomatoes. Roasting them in the oven, turning them into a salad dressing, turning them into a sauce, turning them into a soup. You know, so that's the essence of the book, is looking in the index for the ingredients that you have. It's anything that you have in your kitchen, it's in the salvage index, and it'll reference you to a recipe using that ingredient.
Was there anything in particular that you found difficult or challenging about writing this book, putting it together, all these different recipes?
Maybe just the time. It's just very time consuming to write recipes. I mean, cooking is natural to me. And like a lot of people, I don't follow recipes all that much. I kind of just go by a feel. So what was most challenging was actually writing down that simple recipe for meatballs, for instance, that I've been making for decades, but actually having to write it down and then communicate it on paper to someone else to see if they could understand my recipe and have it come out the same. That was the biggest challenge.
Do you have any advice for people who want to be like you, people who want to be chefs?
Well, the best advice I could give to any upcoming student in culinary is to just keep experimenting. You never know what it is that you're going to love to do, what kind of cooking you're going to lean towards. I was speaking to someone who's going into culinary school and she loves to bake. And that's her thing, is she wants to become a pastry chef. And she said, can you give me any advice? And I said, don't go in to culinary school with the mindset that you're going to be a baker. Because you might end up spending 2 weeks breaking down, you know, a side of meat and go, oh my God, I just love this. So always be open to all ingredients and all types of cooking, because you never know what's just gonna, you know, catch you the right way. Stay open.
I'm sure the viewers and your fans would like to know what you have planned for the future. What is next?
Well, I've got a lot of things. It's funny, this book took over 5 years to write. My second book will probably take 6 months, a little bit easier the second time around. But I have a lot of things planned. I'm looking to develop a television show, possibly around the salvage idea, you know, whether it's going to someone's home and cooking them a meal, but using the ingredients they have in their refrigerator. So some TV, perhaps a second book, do some traveling, but continuing doing what I love to do, which is private catering parties. I love doing cocktail parties and sit-down dinners and creating new dishes all the time for small groups of people from 4 to 40. It's kind of what I love to do.
So you've got a lot going on, I see.
Yes.
And I think that television show, I think it will be really interesting.
Yeah, it would be really exciting to just see the look on people's faces when you go into their home and then present them with a 4-course gourmet meal.
With things that they already have.
Things that they already had.
In their
Exactly.
kitchen.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for
Thanks for
taking the
having me.
time out of your day to come
been a
and
pleasure.
share this information with us. We really appreciate
It's
it.
been a great book fair so far, really exciting.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break.
Cool programs for hot jobs. Let Miami-Dade College jumpstart your career. We offer bachelor's degrees in physician assistant studies, biological sciences, education, and public safety management. Or choose from 300 other programs. With our flexible course schedules, you can take classes during the day, evening, weekend, or online. For more info, visit MDC.edu or call 305-237-8888. Get the knowledge and training for today's in-demand jobs. Register now.
And welcome back. My next guest has spent over 29 years in the fire service. He holds a bachelor's degree in fire science, a master's degree in business and public management. And not only is he a Miami native, but he made history by becoming the first African-American fire chief in Miami-Dade County. Well, who am I talking about? We're here with the very own Dr. Charles U. Phillips. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing okay. I'm glad you took the time out of your busy schedule to come here with us and sit down and just tell us a little bit about your book and your story. Now, I understand that you grew up in Miami, but you weren't born here. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was born in Wilmington, North Carolina, and raised in Miami, Florida since the age of 3.
So, it's a book fair. You're here to tell us about your book. What is this book about that you
Well,
just
the
wrote?
book is Fighting More Than Fires, Race and Politics in Miami-Dade County. It talks about the struggles of African Americans firefighters in South Florida. It is a bio of me and showing where my humble beginnings, raised in inner city of Miami and went to Miami Northwestern High School and joined a mostly segregated Miami-Dade County Fire Department in 1974. In the early 1970s, the federal court mandated that Miami-Dade County hire minorities. And I was a part of Class 28, the first predominantly African-American class. The class was composed of 40 African-Americans, 3 white males, and 5 Hispanic males. And out of that 48, and only 12 African-Americans was out of the 40 was able to complete their training program.
This is, of course, this is your autobiography. You're trying to get your point across. What is the main concept that you want the viewers to grasp from reading your book?
Well, the main thing is I want to document history. The book is a history lesson. I think it's important for our people to understand and learn our history. Not so much to dwell on the past, but to learn from it and progress. My book is, hopefully I can inspire young adults, to reach their own dreams. If someone from humble beginnings, raised in the inner city, can achieve their goals, then they can do it as well. And so that's the focal point of the book. But it's also a history lesson because I want them to know that I didn't get here by myself. I'm standing on the shoulders of others. And I think that part is important, that we owe our ancestors that respect to say, hey, they sacrificed, they did the civil rights marchers in order for me to have the opportunity to become the first African-American fire chief in Miami-Dade County. So it's that storytelling from when I joined the fire department and progressed throughout the ranks, in spite of the obstacles and roadblocks that were in front of me. The theme of my book is the power of perseverance, showing that you need to stay focused, believe in yourself, and you can achieve your dream, regardless of what barriers or obstacles lay in front of you.
Okay, so what did you find most difficult or most challenging about writing this book? Because I know at the time that you ended up leaving the fire department, there were a lot of things going on, certain allegations that you were being accused of. It was a really big mess. I think that was about a decade ago, correct?
Yes, it's about almost 11 years now. And so it talks about that. That's not the focal point, but it also talks about that, and that's where the politics come in. Most people, all they see is the media, what they tell you. And this is a tell-all, behind-the-scene look, where you take the covers off and it names name and talk about the things. You know, I was, at the end of my tenure, I was falsely accused of sexual harassment. Well, I was cleared of those charges, took polygraph tests. The individual refused to take one. And then when we started taking deposition, we find out that, hey, you've got a county manager behind the scene coaxing the individual, and also a county attorney trying to get evidence on me, because it was a conflict between the county manager and myself. And so that part, that's the politics involved.
Involved in the book, okay.
In books.
So it's just pretty much your life story.
Yes,
the things that
it's
you
my
went
life
through.
story. But see, it's more than that, because I think it's important, and that's why I said it's a documentation of the start of African Americans integrating the fire service in South Florida. And I think it's important to document those things so we know what occurred. And like I said, you know, the first day I arrived at the fire college, being the first predominant African American class, we were told that they didn't want us there, and we were only there because the courts forced them to be there. And our numbers declined because they were forcing us out, you know, forcing us to try to sign a resignation letter saying to explore different opportunities, you know, and I mean, we were called racial names, you know, different things like that. And so the books cover a lot of those events, you know, about what occurred and how the barriers were set in front of us. And a lot of us persevered and was able to achieve those goals in spite of those racism and obstacles that was placed in front of us.
Well, I just want to thank you, Dr. Phillips, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come to the book fair and sit down and interview with us and get your story told so that everybody can know your side and, you know, what really happens. I just thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Fresh thinking is being served at Miami-Dade College. Create your own recipe for success in the evolution of food culture at the Miami Culinary Institute. Learn the skills you need to jumpstart your career in the culinary arts. Turn green into gourmet and celery into salary. Miami Culinary Institute. Food, culture, innovation. Visit us at miamidadeculinary.com. Register now. Miami Culinary Institute.
Back. We are still here at the Miami Book Fair International, and my last guest today is a third-generation bilingual Spanish-English speaker. She has a unique style of blending traditional, international, and personal tales to help inspire the lives of others. She's also an award-winning storyteller. We are here with the very own Carrie Sue Ivar. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm here at the Miami International Book Fair. It's fabulous.
So where are you originally from?
I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I spent every summer right down here in South Florida, actually in my grandparents' house where I first learned stories. But I added the Spanish when I went to live in Mexico as a teenager. So now I can get tongue-tied in 2 languages.
So when did you first begin writing?
I think I've been telling stories all my life. My parents told me stories, my grandparents told me stories, my teachers told me stories, and those are the only things I actually really remember.
So this is something that is natural for you?
In a sense, but it also has to be developed. We have to find our stories, hone them, and then find our voices for how to tell them. And when I went to live in Mexico, I had to learn to do it now in a second language. But it was there that I discovered that there were many that were well-read but had never heard the story, so I wanted to incorporate the art of storytelling as well as to the written word.
How long have you been doing this for?
Actually, over 40 years. Now, if you ask my mother, it was all my life, but I've been doing it professionally for almost 40 years now.
And you say it's something that you really enjoy?
I love it. We can connect with people. My grandfather taught me that you cannot hate someone whose story you know, and I really believe that's true. We all have such interesting stories that make us who we are, and I love sharing them because those are my inspirations, and maybe then I can also inspire somebody else to see that they can make a difference in the world. And it's fun.
So do you have any upcoming projects that you're working on?
Actually, I have one I'm very excited about.
Which one is that?
Publishing a new book. It will be out in a couple of months called Risas y Sonrisas, Smiles and Laughter, Rimas Infantiles, bilingual nursery rhymes. So all the Spanish ones that I used with my children all growing up, I translated them into English so they could also have a rhyme and a rhythm. We know that nursery rhymes and finger play are the first stories children usually hear. And if they know at least 8 by the time they're 4, no matter the language, they are the top readers by the time they're 3.
So
By the time they're in 3rd grade.
What inspired you to write that book?
Because I saw a need for it. I saw so many of my children and their friends who are now having their own children, and either they didn't know the Spanish nursery rhymes and wanted to, or they didn't know the English ones and wanted to. And I wanted to be able to pass on that next generation of the Spanish rhymes and also those that want to learn how to say it in both languages. So there are many that have never learned it, but they're learning Spanish. They want to know how to do it.
So you're a natural-born storyteller. What kind of advice do you have for any upcoming authors, any upcoming storytellers?
Whether it's in writing or in the oral art form, it's your story that you have to tell that's important. Find your voice, find your passion, find what makes you laugh or that you really care about, and tell that story. Hone it in your own words. I always write first orally by saying it aloud and aloud, and then comes, for me at least, the written word. But find what is the right way for you.
So aside from this new book that you have coming out, when does this book come out? Is it next year?
It's going to be coming out actually by the beginning of the year, next year.
So aside from this new book that you have coming out, what should the viewers expect from you?
Well, look for more upcoming performances of live storytelling, both in English and Spanish. I'll be doing Jewish stories at a theater in Boca Raton right after the beginning of the year. And I tell stories all over. I just got back from Kansas City, Missouri, and I'm looking forward to sharing more wherever I go and where I see and meet people.
So you travel all over the world.
I do travel. I travel a lot, but I love being able to tell my stories and then listen to other ones and find out about your story.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. What a
Carrie
pleasure.
Sue.
We
So
love
much.
being here. It's a great place for sharing stories one to another.
Thank you so much for just taking the time out of your day to share your story with us. Time flies when you're having conversations with authors, and they have so much to share. This ends today's program. If you've missed the book fair, remember that next year you'll have the opportunity to meet with several different authors all around the world and simply enjoy the fun of reading. We hope to see you then. Until next time, I'm Chanel White, and remember, the more you read, the more you know.